All right, hello everybody. This is Kenn Renner, real estate expert here in the Austin, Texas region, and I'm really excited to talk to you today about some great property opportunities that you need to know about. Namely, I'm going to be talking to a really good friend of mine. His name is Chris Clothier, and he is with out of Memphis and also Dallas, believe it or not, and they have developed, believe it or not, arguably the largest and fastest growing wholesale network for properties in the U.S. So last year, Chris and his family, the Clothiers, bought, sold, renovated over 452 properties. And they made the Inc. 5000 as one of the fastest growing real estate companies in the nation. And I had an opportunity to share platforms with them, stages talking about their systems and their programs. I visited their operations, and I have to tell you that I'm really, really impressed. I've gotten to know the family personally, Kent Sr., Kent Jr., and Chris, and the whole team there in Memphis and in Dallas. And I have to tell you that one of the things I'm really impressed with is the fact that they have such systems. They have such things that everything that they do, all the processes they go through from acquisition to disposition is incredible as far as the attention to detail and everything being documented. And so I have to tell you that these guys have got it down. And that what's really, really great about that is that they are able to buy these properties, rehab them, sell them to mostly cash investors. A lot of people using their self-directed IRAs or just using their cash out there, and really being able to let their clientele be able to rest easy, be able to sleep at night, not have to worry about the property. You know, not only do they do the complete renovation and repairs of the property and bring them up, they're improving neighborhoods. And that's what's really exciting. As I drove through Dallas and Arlington looking at these properties, one of the things that really touched my heart, where we were seeing the gentrification of neighborhoods that were being, these old houses that really had a lot of neglect, turned around and brought into being a great investment property for their clients. And, brand new for the neighborhood. Everybody benefits. And people just flock to rent these properties because they know they're getting a top-notch property that's been renovated. Almost all the property inside is new. And so I'm really excited about the fact that they're able to help neighborhoods recover. And that's what we're seeing here is a family-owned business that's taking and changing the face of neighborhoods. One of the things they also do that's really exciting is they will manage the property 100%. They take care of the property because, as I know, I'm in Austin, Texas, and I'm one of the top investment brokers here in this town. And one of the things that really our investors are most concerned about is the management. And we've heard stories about good stories about management, and we've heard a lot of horror stories about management. So that's one of the things that I really like about their operation is they take just as much care in managing the day-to-day operations of these properties as well as the care that they take in renovating the properties as well. So like Chris will be talking about, he talks about majority of his investors don't even come and see the properties. They have that much trust. And again, a majority of the properties that they sell are to repeat customers. They're selling them to their clients over and over again. Their people are buying it. They like the process. They like the customer service, and they turn around and buy more. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Chris Clothier, and he's going to talk about the operations both in Memphis and in Dallas. And I hope you give me a call, Kenn Renner, at 512-423-5626, and you can talk about what my experience has been with this fine company. So please do that, and connect you with you, 512-423-5626. And now let's hear from Chris and hear a story about how they become one of the top investment companies for real estate in the entire United States. Thanks a lot.
The title of my presentation is Due Diligence for 2013, and the reason why I title it this and kind of what I'm looking for is that 97% of people that invest with us live outside the city of Memphis and outside the city of Dallas. That's not something that we created. We didn't go out and try and make the business go that way. It's one of those phenomena, one of those numbers that occurred because what we have in Dallas and Memphis are opportunities that are not found in every market around the country. And even more to the point, I think that the business that we've built through our family-owned company and the team we put together and the ease of which that we make it for investors to be able to buy cash-flowing properties, it just kind of, everything kind of came together, and it just created this perfect storm where people from around the country, some we've met, some we have not met, invest in property that they cannot find, an opportunity they cannot find where they live. So the whole presentation, everything is all about doing good due diligence. What does that mean? How do you do good due diligence? And then going into 2013, really kind of where we heading. So I start my whole presentation, guys, and I'm going to go fairly quickly tonight because I don't want to take up too much time.
Welcome to GoToWebinar, Web Events Made Easy.
So I really focus on three things with kind of a fourth bonus to it. So the three things I focus on are what are the focuses of good market due diligence? What are some online resource do's and don'ts if you're going to invest out of market? And then due diligence on key team building. And as you just heard Ken say a second ago, that little bonus that I'm throwing in there is the turnkey vendor due diligence. A lot of people are turning to turnkey vendors today, looking for an easy investing option. And so I've got some tips that you really need to follow if you're going to do that. The first thing for me always, real estate is not national, it is local. And so often the news that we watch, the headlines that we read, whether they're online or elsewhere, they're all nationally based. I want to remind everybody that real estate is always local. And especially investment real estate, not only is it local, but it is zip code driven. So even though, and we'll just take our two markets, Dallas and Memphis, they're great places to invest, that still doesn't mean that just any house, any zip code, anywhere is going to work. It's absolute down to the neighborhood and often down to the street, where a very intelligent local investor can tell you that this side of the street is good, but 2 blocks down, don't touch. Those are the kinds of things that you have to know and realize in your mind if you're going to invest out of area, that you can't just go and buy anything anywhere. I know I'm preaching to the choir. Everyone that's on the call, that and everybody that's watching this kind of knows that you don't just go off and just start buying because you want to buy. Real estate, if it says it's good, bad, indifferent, whatever, it's not national. It is down to the local zip code, neighborhood, and even street driven as to whether or not you should or should not buy a piece of real estate. There are three things to remember. Everybody always knows this. It's been drilled into us ever since we were younger and bought our first house. The real estate's always been about three things. It's always been about location, 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 which that's great. When it comes to investment real estate, you can forget all that because it's not just location, location, location. Is that important? Yes. But the top three things if you're going to invest in out-of-area, out-of-market real estate, they always come down to investing at the right time, investing in the right economic situation, and investing with the right team. So I'm going to break those down just very quickly. None of us has the crystal ball. None of us can prognosticate what's going to happen through the year, but we know that with interest rates where they're at, added with housing prices at an all-time low in many good markets around the country, including Memphis and Dallas, that when you add all this together, what you get is opportunity. I think very few people would argue that today is not a fantastic opportunity to invest in real estate. So I don't spend a lot of time here. If I have to spend a lot of time here and convince somebody that now is the right time to buy real estate, we may be on the wrong call. And so I just don't spend a lot of time here. Now is the time. I'm also not the guy that's going to tell you have to buy today because tomorrow it'll be gone. That's not the case. But you're in a window. You're in a period right now, and it could be the next 18 to 24 to 30 months. I think it's a big window, but there's a window right now where real estate is not going to be better because the price is right, the interest rates are at excellent levels, whether you're using leverage or just paying cash, if you're investing with your self-directed IRA, whatever it is you're using, housing prices and the market climate are never going to be better than they are right now, and they will be for the next, short foreseeable future. So let's talk economics. If we know the time is right, What about the economics? If I'm going to invest out of area, one of the problems with real estate investing has always been that we tend to look in the rearview mirror. We tend to look backwards to see what's going to happen going forward. And it's just, you cannot do that anymore. We know what we just came through, an incredible economic, crisis that the entire country just went through, and that housing has been right in the middle of. So you can't really look backwards to see what's going to happen in a market. I always tell investors you got to look forward. You got to look through the windshield and see what's coming down the road before you choose a city to invest in. So for me, these things, the sales history, it doesn't really matter anymore. Number of days on market for a particular property doesn't really matter anymore. Comp history doesn't really matter anymore, only because there's so many things that come into play today that make houses stay on the market longer. Maybe a bank held it. Maybe a bank had it in shadow inventory before they put it out there. Maybe it was a short sale and left it on the market longer. There's all kinds of things that come into play that mean the traditional things we look at to determine if a city or a particular property is good, I say throw them out the window. There's other things I want to look at first. I want to look at industry. What industries are driving a particular economy, a particular city? What's going on there? I want to look at jobs, not just unemployment rates. I mean, that is definitely a number to keep in mind, but also I want to know how many net new jobs were created in a city. Not just the new jobs, mind you, but I want to know, did a city create new jobs, and then when you take away the jobs that were lost, is it still a positive number? That's what I'm looking for in a good, positive market for me. And then I'm looking for outlook. When I talk about industry and I talk about jobs, I also talk about outlook. There was a time back in the mid-'90s when everyone said Detroit was the absolute place to invest in. But the outlook for the automobile may not, if people had really kind of thought about what was going on in the competition, you got more cars being built overseas, and the overseas car market was beginning to overtake, or car makers were beginning to overtake U.S. car makers, you could kind of look and see that if the auto industry failed, that part of the country was going to be in big trouble. Now, so what I look for is I like markets that are not dependent on one industry, that if one industry goes down, everything else goes down with it. So that's what I mean when I say outlook. Some important things for you to consider. And I know I'm going kind of fast here, but I want to make sure I get everything without kind of going too long. I don't want to talk too long. I always look at the 2000 and 2010 census data. Now, why am I looking at that? I want to see if a MSA grew, if the population went up from 2000 to 2010. So a growing MSA, and the MSA, for everybody that's on the line here, is Metro Statistical Area. So what it means, and I'll use Memphis as an example, if I look at Memphis, the population has been stagnant. If I look at the MSA, the Memphis's MSA, the population has grown. So the MSA is the 13 counties that surround Memphis, the 13 counties that kind of make up this area where the suburbs and where people, the bedroom communities, all that kind of stuff. So you can't just look at just a city itself, but you got to look at all the surrounding area, what's going on. And that's just a clear indication that when people are moving here, they're choosing to live in the suburbs but work in the city. I look at key industries. So as I said earlier, I do want to know who the major employers are, but I want to know what the key industries are as well. Is it transportation and distribution? Is it mining? Is it healthcare? Is it what do you call it? The online, like wow, I just went blank there for a second. I want to know what the key industries are that are leading a particular area, like Silicon Valley. Is it going to be a lot of the tech jobs? And then I want to look, as I said earlier, job growth. And I'm really looking at new job openings. And then I want to look at personal, and you can tell that this was late when I put this together because that's supposed to be per capita income. So I want to look at what's going on within the household. Are the incomes going up? And then lastly, unemployment rate. Is it coming down? Is it staying even with the rest of the country? What's going on there? These are some particular economics that I look at in a city before I decide I'm going to invest there. And I think it's important. We've been able to nail down that Tennessee and specifically Memphis are the places to invest, as well as Texas and the city of Dallas. So for us, let me run through a few quick numbers. Tennessee, GDP growth of 2.4%. Positive side, I like it. It had a real 2011 GDP of $234 billion. Population change plus 1%, outpacing the national average in employment growth. And the GDP of Tennessee grew in large part due to multiple industries and ones that will be here in no matter what what the economy is doing. Transportation, durable goods manufacturing, healthcare. These are industries that are going to be here no matter what. Then I look into Memphis in particular. All right, so you got the 17th largest city in the U.S. with 1.7 million people. It's one of the U.S.'s most affordable cities too, at 2.2 times income. So it's extremely, extremely affordable. Population change, it only grew 0.5%. But again, when you look at what's happened to some of the other cities around the country that have shrunk, that's something I like. It's known as North America's logistics center. That means if it ships in the U.S., it ships through Memphis. It's got the fastest growing biomedical center in the southeast. It's got the second largest biomedical manufacturing center in, I believe this is in the U.S. Absolutely it is. And then last but not least here, you got six Fortune 500 company international headquarters right here in Memphis, okay, including Federal Express, International Paper, AutoZone. Some very, very big companies have their international headquarters right here in Memphis. So let's look at Texas, guys. And I want to make sure that everybody that's watching this, if you want to get the slides, at the end here, there'll be a place that you can go to register for more information. You can absolutely get a copy of these slides. No worries whatsoever. Texas, GDP growth of 3.3%, one of the best in the nation. It had a real GDP of $1.15 trillion, the second highest GDP out of any state in the country. It had a population change of 1.67%, so that shows you that Tennessee was right at 1%, Texas is 1.67%, and Texas is the highest percentage of population growth in the country. The increase in employment, 2.1%. That was the third highest in the country in 2011. Now, I'm giving you all these numbers for 2011, guys, because 2012 has not been fully published yet, so I don't want to go through those numbers just yet. Its unemployment rate dropped down to 7.9%, and the GDP of Texas, now this is what is crazy. The GDP of Texas grew $37 billion. It was more than the total GDP of 5 other states. Now, much of the growth came in mining and manufacturing. Those two sectors led to 41% of the entire GDP growth in 2011, and that's okay. What you're looking for is a nice big mix. Now, the great thing about Dallas-Fort Worth, and I particularly love Dallas. I was born and raised here. Today I live in Memphis, but so you kind of know why these two markets are the ones that we really, really like. 6th largest city economy in the U.S. It's got the 14th largest city GDP in the world, right there in Dallas-Fort Worth. You've got an excellent affordability index. It's got the lowest affordability index out of any city in the state of Texas, any major city in the state of Texas. An affordability index lower than Houston, lower than San Antonio, and lower than Austin. So we really, really liked that fact. Dallas had a population change of almost 3%. 43% of the high-tech jobs in Texas come right there in the Silicon Prairie, which is just north of Dallas. 13 privately held billion-dollar companies call Dallas their headquarters, and then 19 Fortune 500 companies have their world headquarters located in Dallas. When you look at the numbers of these two cities, you've got one that is obviously one of the top 5 cities in the U.S. Another one that's a top 20 city in the U.S. that has a slightly better affordability index. 2 solid cities, Memphis being much more blue-collar, so much more, I guess, of the long-term rental possibility. It's one of those that you're going to be able to have a property there and keep it rented for generations to come because of the way the makeup and the development of the city is. So, guys, when I'm looking at the economics of what makes an area good, this is what I look at. These are the numbers that I want to dig into. I want to know that as I buy real estate and invest in it, I want to invest for the long run. I want to invest so that I can leave something to my children, have a generational impact. So for my generational impact, I want to invest in areas that are going to be solid. They're going to be here for my children down the line. And I really like Memphis and Dallas. When I dig into the economics, I feel like they're going to be solid cities going forward. Big thing for me. Once I've determined that I like the areas, then I start digging into just some other stuff, just so you know. I mean, I look at the county assessor's office. I want to know about building permits. I want to know about the cost of housing versus rental rates. I want to know about rental demand versus average days to rent, the percentage of renters in a particular area, how much investor activity is going on. Now, I'll tell you right now, as a passive investor, you don't have to do all this research. That's what we've done for you. That's one of the benefits of this. But if you are going to invest out of area and you don't want to use a company like us, and you're just, you're kind of picking up the information and learning and want to see what's it like to invest out of area, this is the stuff you have to do. If you're going to try and do it on your own, you have to dig into these numbers, or else you will find yourself having difficulty. So lastly, guys, where to gather the data. Google is always an incredible resource to get information. I love Google. I type all this stuff into Google, and my information pops up. I can put the name of any city I want to invest in the country into Google and follow it with Business Journal, and usually I can pick up, if it's a major city, I can pick up a Business Journal and then kind of read about the business climate. Same thing with Chamber of Commerce, same thing with Clear Capital, Realty Track, Realtor.com, a site called Bigger Pockets out there that's really good for real estate investors, those that want to be active. And so anyway, these are just some places you can go to get really good information and then get a kind of a feel for what's going on in the city. What's happening there that makes it a good place to invest. Lastly, guys, when I picked these cities, and we are always looking at other cities around the country, but right now these are the two that we really like the most, I'm always looking for a high peak to current price history, and I want the prices to still be far below their peak price. That tells me there's still lots of room for price appreciation. I'm looking for high discounts. What that means is that if a property is listed for one price, that it's still being discounted to be able to sell. So they're not selling above list, they're selling below list. And then I look for foreclosure saturation. There was a time when you could look for foreclosure saturation of over 30%. Not as much today. You're not going to find that in too many markets today. Dallas and Memphis are just now starting to peak underneath that. But still, with a high level of foreclosures, that means you're going to have a very good probability of getting a good price. And speaking of price, so we've been sitting here, we're talking about real estate, and I haven't even mentioned houses yet. I haven't even mentioned cost of houses yet. And I often tell investors, especially those that invest with us that are looking to be passive, that the price of the home is the last thing you look at. First and foremost, you want to look at the city, and you want to make sure that you are investing in a good city. We can all find cheap anywhere, and that's what this little illustration I'm going to show you is all about. So I often tell investors that price is what you pay. And the funny thing is and I kind of run through an exercise where I've got a house for $15,000, and almost invariably every single investor around the country would say, like, wow, I mean, that's very cheap. I will tell you, I hate the word cheap. It's one of those things that drives me nuts, but that's the case. Then when I tell them it's a 1,665 square foot home, it usually begins to pique their interest, like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Why is it that cheap? I get to, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's got a fenced backyard with lots of room to run, and oh, by the way, that calculates out to be $9 a square foot. By this point, I can have most investors kind of salivating and saying, well, you know what, my interest is piqued. I want to know more about this. So I show them the picture of the house. And as you can see, it is a nice brick home, green grass in the front yard. It's got a brick mailbox with even a brick planter there. It looks like that you could put flowers into. Not a bad-looking home. Is there a garage? No, but there's a parking pad right here. Not a bad-looking house. This is one of those things that when I show this picture to investors, they're usually like, I mean, I would buy that. Most investors say, yes, I would buy that house for $15,000. That seems like a fairly good investment. You know why? I mean, I couldn't buy that same house for $15,000 in my home or in my city. That might be a $100,000 home where I live. And that's the problem. See, this is what happens usually online with investors. When they begin to look at cheap and price before they look at city itself. And I can almost guarantee that everyone on this call, especially at this point, saying I would never do that, I would never buy that house. But you know, here's the reality, that when they see this and they say, hey, that's a $15,000 house, $9 a square foot, I found it online, I don't need to look at the city. Let me just do some quick research. And they pull up something that looks very, very much like this. You see the little, you see right down here in the bottom corner, Zillow? Yeah, that's that great site that everybody pulls up and says, you know, but Zillow says, Zillow, you know, tells me this, Zillow tells me that, so I'm good to go. You can see right here that Zillow says that house is worth $122,000. That's the value of that home. And they show you that there's houses all up and down that street for in the mid 120s. There's a house around the corner for $70,000. There's one going the other direction, actually two going the other direction for $67,000. So you get the idea when you look at this that Zillow knows what they're talking about. That there's some foreclosures, that there's, for some reason, this house has just been sitting there forever. There might be some underlying problem with it, but we can get in there and fix that cheap because we're only buying it for 15 grand. So you get the idea that this is one of those great houses you can make a ton of money with. Take a look at it on the map and you say, oh my gosh, now I'm absolutely blown away. When I look at it on the map, I can see that the house is actually located just 2.5 blocks away from the water. Now I'm really in. Now I'm all for it. Now I'm starting to see that, hey, I can't get a house near the water for $15,000 anywhere else. This is incredible. I got to buy this house. I'm all over it. So let's go through it again. Price is what you pay. Value is what you get. 1,556 square foot home, $9 a square foot. The lesson to be learned here is that the house has been on the market for 167 days because it's in the lower 9th ward of New Orleans, Louisiana. Now, the problem with all this, guys, is the simple fact that that house at $9 a square foot, most investors are going to realize that they're going to have to replace that house at some point in the future based on what just happened a few years ago there in New Orleans. Not to harp on that, but to definitely put out there to everybody that what you see on the internet, the information you get back from a site like Zillow, there's nothing that beats boots on the ground. Zillow is just now opening up their second offices at somewhere else in the country outside of Seattle. It's going to be in San Francisco. Last time I checked, Zillow does not have people on the ground in Dallas, in Austin, in Memphis, or any other city. They're only up there in the Northeast. Zillow is nothing more than an algorithm. Their whole site is based on punching data into a computer and then spitting something out on the backside. And unfortunately, when you're investing in real estate, especially away from home, what Zillow says and what we're able to find cheap on the internet, none of it matters. We need to do our homework first, and when we've chosen the city and we know that the time is right to invest in real estate, is when we really get the opportunity to find the right team. Now, this is important, guys, because if you were going to do real estate on your own, you would need to find somebody that can help you locate the properties, somebody that can help you rehab, help you rent, help you manage going forward. You'd have to have somebody that can help you get the houses closed. You'd need somebody to help you with insurance. Obviously, we need a CPA. Wouldn't matter where we're investing. We need somebody that knows what the hell they're doing with the CPA stuff, right? And then last but not least, we need to have a bug guy. And the bug guy is my, that's what I put out there to show everybody that you need a lot of other services that are not listed here, that may not be listed categorically, okay? And that bug guy encompasses every other thing that's going to take place in that house. This is a task to undertake right here. Whether you're investing across the street or across the country, you have to have this team. And this is where a company like us comes in, because what we do, we are a turnkey vendor. So we offer all of that stuff for you. What makes us unique is that we understand investors. What does that mean? Hell, we're investors ourselves. We've done this all of our lives. This is what we do. I was the original out-of-area investor for Memphis Invest when I lived in Denver, Colorado, and I bought homes here in Memphis. You need a team that has experience level and age. Now, I often tell people that what I mean by this is you want people that have been around the block a little bit. There are some brand new business owners out there, some young guns is what I call them, some guys that have decided they've watched something on TV, they like the way it looked, they've decided to go out there and start selling real estate. They might be using the turnkey model. This may be their first job. That's scary, not just because they're so young, but because they're so young in business. They have no experience level. One of the things I use as an analogy is I tell people that, when you get on an airplane, my dad is one of those funny guys that when he gets on an airplane, he never just heads straight to his seat. He always lingers around the cockpit when he gets on the airplane because he wants to see the captain and the co-captain and who all's in, operating that plane up there. He tells us all the time that he wants to see a little gray hair. A little gray hair makes him, feel comfortable. It makes him feel like, okay, I'm dealing with people that have been around the block a few times. If there's an emergency up here, I at least want somebody that has the ability to control it. That's the way he thinks. That's the way you should think as a real estate investor. You should be looking for a company that's got a little bit of experience level. They've been around the business world for a while. Nothing wrong with having a little age under your belt as well. Business oriented. Now this is a key for me. And I mean this is no disrespect to anybody that may be on the phone or anybody listening, but what I find a lot is that oftentimes people that have been in real estate all of their lives, very, very few of them are able to think outside of the real estate box that they have been taught, whether it's through real estate commissions or real estate tests or, being inside of a brokerage office, whatever it ends up being. They end up getting very, very narrow with the way that they view real estate. For us, I don't have a real estate background. I have a business background. In fact, my family was very successful in 2 other industries long before we ever even got into real estate. We've started multiple companies, and all have been very successful. We came to real estate because the timing was right, the opportunity was right. It was something that we wanted to try and do. So our experience level is building businesses. Real estate happens to be the one that we have chosen to build over the last 10 years, and it's been the one we've had the most fun at by far. But business-oriented means that we're able to approach the business not as a real estate professional, but as a business professional. I know how to build systems, put in efficiencies, create a customer service experience that makes a very well-run machine. And that's what I believe you're looking for. Verifiable results. All that means, guys, online, on the phone, in promotional material, everybody's the best. No one's ever going to tell you that they're second best, ever. What you are looking for is verifiable results. I tell you that we did 452 transactions last year between Memphis and Dallas. That's how many homes we bought, renovated, and sold to investors. What you want to know is, great, I want to go see the public record. I want to see where you did that. No problem. It's there. That's what you're looking for. Lots of people say they're the biggest and the best and the baddest and, they got everything going on. Regardless of who you invest with, you just want to make sure that there's verifiable results there. And then the last one, and this is really what I think is probably key, is accountability. If you're going to invest with somebody out of area, you want to know that you've got, a company that doesn't just take the idea that I can sell a house and be done with it, but somebody takes the idea that I can sell a house and I want to have such a good and outstanding relationship with that buyer that they want to buy again and again and again. And they want to tell anybody that is interested in listening that, hey, this is what I do and who I do it with. And why? Because, I'll tell you, the greatest compliment we've ever gotten, and, we get some good compliments, let me put it that way, but we were in San Diego, California. I had a gentleman stand up, and in front of a room about 200 investors, he tells them all, he says, look, I've been investing with these guys for almost 3 years now. He's like, and I'm going to bottom line it for you. It's real estate. You're going to have vacancies. You're going to have maintenance. You're going to have things that are going to come up that are going to be unexpected. said, I live 1,600 miles away from my homes in Memphis, Tennessee, and I never worry a bit. He said, I'm getting ready to buy my first house with them in Dallas now, and I don't even think twice about it. Why? Because every time something's come up, they have been on it. They have always communicated to me. I have never worried about what is happening over there because they've been in the middle of it every single time. I sleep better 1,600 miles away from my investments than I did when I was investing around the corner. That was it. That's all he said. That's absolutely the best endorsement that I've ever received because he told the truth. It's not all cupcakes and candy canes all the time. I mean, there are going to be things that are going to come up, but I do want people to know that when they do, we're there. We're accountable to you as the investor. Big deal right there. So here is kind of a little quick down and dirty about us. The Clothier team, my father, my two brothers, myself, we've been investing for over 25 years. This is, it's kind of funny. I was laughing earlier today. This is a picture from about 6 months ago. We actually have about 7 more employees now that aren't in this picture, but this is a great picture of our team. This is the team standing out in front of our main offices over in Memphis, Tennessee. Like I said, we've got about 7 other full-time employees right now, so the picture has already grown. Key questions to ask, guys. I'm going to tell you a few key questions to ask, and I don't even mind if you ask us these questions because this is important when you're looking for a great team. Are you an investor? Anybody you're going to do business with, they better be an investor. You want to know how many investors does somebody work with? Do they own properties that they sell? It's a big deal. I'll tell you why. You don't want to deal with somebody that's just flipping houses out of the MLS. That creates an absolute nightmare. You want to deal with somebody that has the financial wherewithal to be able to buy houses, renovate them, and then get them rented and sell them to an investor. How long have you been in the business? What's been your biggest mistake as an investor? I promise you guys, if you ask me that question, I will answer that straight up and honest. I have absolutely made some dumb mistakes as an investor that I had to learn from. But the nice thing is that I'm willing to share that information. I'm willing to tell other investors that, hey, this is what I've done. This is how you make sure you don't do it. Here's some steps you can take to protect yourself. Anyway, I enjoy that. This is a question I have a lot of fun with because a lot of people, they're scared to answer that. They don't want to. They think it's a bad thing if you made a mistake. For me and for us, mistakes are a part of life. They're a part of how you grow and learn. So no problem telling people the mistakes I've made as an investor. More key questions. How many rentals do you personally own? I will tell you that the Clothier family, we've got over 150 properties here in Memphis and in Dallas. Do you own all facets of the operation? That's a big deal. In other words, we don't third-party partner with anything. We own everything. We own the company that buys the houses, the company that renovates the houses, the company that manages the houses. Why does that matter? It means you as an investor make one phone call. You don't have to call all around and get a bunch of answers from everybody. You make one phone call. If you're not happy about something, if you've got a question about something, if you need an answer, you make one call and we get it for you. Guarantees. I'll tell you right now, I hate guarantees. The reason why I hate guarantees is that they are offered out there to help the investment company and not the investor. And if you've got questions about that, guys, I'll be more than happy to get into that in more detail one-on-one. But I'll just tell you that as a company, we don't offer 12 months of rent guarantee, and we don't offer 12 months of no maintenance guarantee. And I'll tell you why. Because if my work is so shoddy that I have to offer a 12-month no maintenance guarantee, you shouldn't buy from me in the first place. If I tell you that I guarantee you won't have a vacancy in the first 12 months, and I'm willing to put that in writing as a way to get you to buy a property from me, like a selling tool, you shouldn't buy from me in the first place. You should tell me that my management company should be so good that I know it's not going to go vacant in the first 12 months. Some people, especially those in the industry, and this goes back to what I said earlier, they'll tell you that that's crazy. You can't guarantee that. I mean, it's real estate. Things happen. You have to be able to be flexible and make those kind of guarantees for an investor. No, you're wrong. For me, we've absolutely figured out how to get how to prevent properties from going vacant in the first 12 months. Does it happen? Yes, rarely. And when it does, we do what's right for our investor, okay? But I don't have to put it in writing and make a guarantee to try and sell somebody a property. Instead, I'd rather tell them, here's all the steps we take to get 2-year leases on every property and to get almost a 50% retention rate on leases that we sign. That means that the tenant stays for 2 years and 50% of them sign another 2-year lease. Our average length of occupancy is approaching 3 years right now. That does not come by accident. That happens because you know how to run a business. You don't just take what somebody else tells you and say, well, that's the industry norm, and I'm going to go with it. I'm going to make a guarantee to help somebody. No, 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 no. I don't like guarantees. You can do what you want, but I don't like guarantees. You should ask somebody to explain what rent ready means. I'm going to tell you right now that rent ready is a term made up by landlords to spend less money. I hate that term. For me, rent ready means I'm going to do the maximum work that needs to be done to the house to make sure I get the highest rent with the best tenant for the longest length of stay. It doesn't mean spend the fewest dollars to get it occupied. That's backwards thinking, in my opinion. The last question is, do you defer maintenance? Any company that defers maintenance is going to cost you money. We try and fix everything the right way on the front end. How many properties do you manage? I don't know if I asked that earlier, but that's definitely one that you need to put in there. A few more key questions to ask. What's your average vacancy rate? What's your cost of an average repair bill after move out? That's an important one. What are your management fees? That's the first question everybody asks. You see, for me, I put it on the 3rd page because it's important, but it's not the most important. What is your average number of months occupancy? I just gave you ours. That's really important. I'll tell you that if a management company cannot answer all these questions for you, there's a problem, okay? There's a problem because they need to be tracking and measuring every bit of this. Last couple of questions. What programs do you have in place to keep tenants happy? And will you call me every month with an update on my portfolio? As odd as that sounds right there, we as a company have a customer service program in place. We call every client every month with an update on their portfolio, okay? I have 3 people today. They're making almost 700 calls a month. They break it down by week. Each of them are making anywhere from 50 to 80 calls each week to make sure that we reach out to every client every month. That's nothing more than one of those little business tips that we figured out a long time ago, that communication is the key. There is nothing more important to a owner that lives 1,000 miles away than just communication. It's not always great news. Sometimes there is bad news. But when you call every month to let them know that, hey, your rent came in, it's been sent back to you, everything's good, is there anything I can do for you? Then when one of those months that comes up and you have to say that, hey, I need to let you know there's a $150 bill that's going to be coming with your, that's going to be deducted out of your check and coming with your breakdown of your houses this month, that goes over well, okay? An investor's able to say, okay, I appreciate you letting me know, because they know every month, good or bad, you're going to call and tell them what's going on. That's a big, big question right there. And then the last one, guys, as I said, what programs do you have in place to keep a tenant happy? A management company that does not understand that a tenant is your second client is one that's going to be in trouble, because there's really 2 clients. And the way you keep the investor client happy is you keep the tenant client happy. You keep them in there, occupied, paying rent. That nothing makes a investor client happier in the long run than a property that just keeps right on performing. So when you've determined that you've got the right timing, you know the economics of a city, you know you've got the right team, that's when you move forward. And guys, just real quickly, this is what I look for. I love a property that's neighborhood normal. What that means is that I don't care if it's 2-bedroom, 1-bath. I don't care if it's 3-bedroom, 2-bath. I don't care if it's got a 2-car garage or no garage or a 2-car carport. I just want it to be normal for that neighborhood at a minimum. There's this rule that everybody tries to adhere to that says you never buy an investment property that's 2-bedroom, 1-bath. And I think that's asinine. I think that's crazy. I own a few 2-bedroom, 1-baths. And you know where they are? They're in the middle of a neighborhood that's all 2-bedroom, 1-bath, right around the corner from a university. I've got great properties over there. Anytime I can find a 3.2 or 3.1.5 in that area, I'll buy it, because it's better than neighborhood normal. So for me, that's all I'm looking for. I'll never buy a house that has a carport if every single house that you can see from the front porch has a two-car garage. And I hope you kind of follow what I'm saying there. I always look for neighborhood normal. That's the way we invest as investors. That's the way we encourage our investors to invest. I look for economic opportunity location. That's a really nice way of saying that I look for things that are in the path of progress. I don't want to go and invest in neighborhoods that are cut off from the rest of the city. Right now, as an investor, for some of my personal projects, I'm taking on some rougher neighborhoods. I'm trying to work with some community development corporations. I'm trying to work with some nonprofits, doing some stuff within the city of Memphis to try and rehabilitate some neighborhoods. We're already talking to some of the municipalities over in the Dallas-Fort Worth area about working with them in some of their challenged neighborhoods. But as an investor, some of our investors will want to join us in that, some won't. And I don't blame anybody that doesn't want to. My own personal portfolio has been built around the path of progress, where things are being built, where new stuff is happening, new strip centers, new roads, new schools, those areas I'm looking to buy. And then last, return on my investment. I've been talking for 45 minutes, guys, and this is the first time that you hear from me where I start talking about what rate of return are you getting. And there's a reason for that. Everyone's going to have their own rate that they're going to want to get. Everyone's going to think they can get better here, better there, whatever, or they're going to have their minimum that they're going to take. I get it. For me, I have my own rate that I want to make sure that I get on everything I do. I make a pretty consistent rate of return on my homes. What I'm looking for is in year 10, I want my rate to be consistent with what I was making in year 1. So I don't do a whole lot of houses, guys, where I'm making 10+%. It just, I've learned as an investor that I can buy something that's going to make me 10% in year 1, and I'm going to end up with 4% in year 10. So a lot of what I buy, I'm making anywhere net each year from 7.5% to 9.5% on just about everything I buy. Each investor, though, understand, you're going to decide yourself what you want. But I'm looking for a consistent, reliable return. I don't want pie in the sky. I don't want to trade my rate down the line for a great rate early on. I just want consistent. I don't need to buy the worst house in the best neighborhood. I don't need to buy the best house. What I need is consistent. I need to be in areas where people are going to be looking to buy more. I use the exact same tools and companies that our investors use. So in other words, I've got the same management as everybody else does. I don't ask for special treatment from the management company, none of that kind of goofy stuff. I'm looking for a very consistent property that's going to give me a consistent return from my portfolio. And for me, I'm perfectly happy with a consistent rate of return between 7.5 and 9.5 net every single year. That's what I want. And I know that my returns will fluctuate up and down, but hardly ever have I had one that fell below that 7.5%. So anyway, that's what I look for in investment property. My advice, guys, for building a portfolio, real simple. Be clear about your goals for investing. What is your why? Y'all have heard that probably so many times before. For me, my why is my children and my lifestyle. That's it. Everybody already gets it. I don't have a bunch of sappy pictures here to show you of my kids or me sitting on a hammock or owning a boat, none of that kind of goofy stuff, okay? My why is that I want to be in control of my own destiny as I get older. The second piece of advice I give investors is develop a plan and stick to it. Who cares what I'm doing? Really, who cares what I'm doing? All that matters is what you need and what you want to do. Why are you investing in real estate? How can we put together a plan that gets you there? If your plan calls for buying 5 properties, I don't care how good number 6 looks. If you've got other plans and other ideas, don't alter your plan. Make sure that you think long and hard before you do. I hope that makes sense to everybody. What I mean by that is don't let me or anyone else sell you a different plan than what you put in place. You know what you need, you know what you desire, you know what you want. Put a plan, get it together, stick to it. do what it says. If the plan says buy 3 properties a year for the next 3 years, don't buy 6, okay? Buy 3 each year for the next 3 years. And last but not least, passive investing requires picking the best long-term market and the best long-term team. I go back to it again. I love Dallas and I love Memphis. That's where I choose to invest. I have built an incredible team. I'm very appreciative of what Ken said earlier because I do believe it. I do believe that we have one of the best real estate investment companies in the country for certain investors. We're not right for everybody. I don't want to be right for everybody. We want to be perfect for the investors that work just right with us. And so I think as a passive out-of-area investor, this is really something you got to look for. You got to make sure you get the right market. You got to make sure you get the right team. And I'll leave you with this, guys. I want everybody to just kind of understand 5 properties owned free and clear. You're talking about a monthly cash flow net of around $4,250. This is on average in Memphis. Dallas would be a little bit higher. If you have 10 properties owned free and clear, it provides a net monthly positive cash flow of around $8,500, average in Memphis, a little bit higher in Dallas. The reason why I put these numbers on here is I wanted everybody to understand that this is why I invest. Because I realize that whether or not I choose to retire on this money or not, this is an incredible supplement to what I do in my life. The faster I can own 10 properties, and I'm already past that today, but I just want you to kind of understand, I'll say you at this point, the faster you can own 10 properties free and clear, the faster you can own just 5 properties free and clear, it makes an incredible difference. It has an incredible impact on your day-to-day, everyday life. This is a monthly passive income. You've done the work for this. You bought the property. You paid it off. You now own it outright. This is the return you get. This is why you did it. That is a monthly income number. And then you add to that the simple fact that the average value of a home in Dallas today that we're talking about investing is right around $100,000. You own it free and clear. If you own 5 or if you own 10, you've got either $500,000 or $1 million in asset value that you could borrow against or you could sell at any time that you chose. But as long as you own it, they're bringing in that income every single month. That's the power of real estate. That's the thing that I just really want to make sure that everybody understood and really, really gets. This is why we say invest long term. This is why we say invest, buy, and hold in a passive investment. You don't have to do a thing. You can go do what you want to do every day. This money comes in. The value sits there for you. That's in today's dollars, too. We know values are going to go up. You know, you've got inflation right around the corner for all of us. This is a great, great opportunity to buy in at a property at a lower price and watch it go up in value. And as inflation hits, the value goes up and the rental rates go up. So remember, all the numbers I showed you are all in today's value. But this is the last number I'm going to leave you with. And then right at the very end, guys, if you'll stay with me just for 1 second, I've got one more thing I want to show you. But this is why I tell investors to invest out of area. Don't do it if you know and you already can see that you're going to have headaches and you're going to be jumping through hoops and chasing things down and trying to make it work. That's no good. That's no good. Don't do it. The only reason to invest out of area is no headaches. You need a consistent, reliable return in the right market with the right team where you're not going to be worried constantly about what's going on. You're not going to deal with headaches. This is the reason you look for the best of the best when you are investing out of area. I'm going to leave it right there. I'm going to tell you guys that this is one of those topics, and I have to force myself to stop. That's why I only put in so many slides. I can talk about this for hours. I love talking real estate. I love working with investors. I love sharing my own personal story. I love hearing about other personal stories. It's one of those things for me that it really, I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about helping other investors get going. I am so thrilled and honored that you spent the time here with me. I'm glad that Ken had me on. You guys were able to listen to this. And I want to tell you that if you're interested in looking at either one of these markets and trying to get going, we put together a couple of pages for you to be able to pick up the information or pick up good information about our company. And then set up a time for us to be able to talk at some point in the future one-on-one. No selling. I'm not talking about selling. I'm talking about if you've got more questions, and you should, and more detailed questions, this is your chance to ask. If you go to buymemphisinvest.com or buydallasinvest.com, that takes you straight to a registration page just for Kenn Renner clients, just for Kenn Renner, those that have watched and listened and followed Kenn. These pages are set up just for you guys. So this is a special offer. There's no value to it other than the information that we're going to send out to you. You don't have to buy anything, but go visit us there. Drop in your information. Get the Jumpstart package that we put together for you guys to be able to take a look at. Jump on the line with one of our portfolio advisors. If you're not interested right now, that's perfectly fine. Just let them know, hey, I'm not interested. I just wanted the information. They'll set up a time to maybe call you in the future or to not call you. You can say, don't ever call me again. But if you want to get some more data, you want to get some more information, you want to at least explore it, let one of our portfolio advisors give you a call, set up an appointment with them, just kind of go through, ask them the questions that you got. Go through it with them. Let them help you get pointed in the right direction, because that's our goal. Our goal is to whittle down and get working with the people that are a perfect fit for our company, and those that aren't, help them get pointed in the right direction. So, Kenn, that is, I feel like I just started 5 minutes ago, but I know I've been talking now for a little over 50 minutes. Like I said earlier, I really enjoy this kind of stuff, Kenn. I'm so glad that you had me on here, and I look forward to working with some of your clients and kind of helping them get moving forward. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you guys joining us tonight. I really do appreciate everybody taking the time to watch the webinar. If you have questions, you can follow us at buymemphisinvest.com or buydallasinvest.com. Download the information, follow up, and happy investing to everybody. Hopefully we end up moving everybody in the right direction and helping everybody get started as soon as possible. Again, thanks a lot for letting me entertain you for the last 55 minutes. Thanks, guys.